Okay, we are recording.
Welcome everyone to our program today, Kickstart in the Time of Crisis. I want to say welcome. I'm happy to see students and faculty here. Today we will give you great information that will help you on your journey and in your academic journey here at TCC. First of all, I would like to thank everyone who is speakers. First up today will be Mr. Robert Barber, who is the head of fitness and wellness and on our Student Center fourth floor. He is our fitness coordinator, director. He's the man that has all the answers for fitness. But today he's going to give you his personal journey on his mental health issues and explain his life just a little. Robert, your turn.
Thank you, LaTanya. And good afternoon and welcome again to everybody for joining us today. Kickstart in Time of Crisis. Really what we're looking at here is twofold. One is going to be looking at mental health, and the other is going to be looking at motivation. So we're all in a time of crisis right now, whether we understand that or not. And the limitations that have been put on our life can cause an unknown stress or an unrecognized stress. And, you know, I've had an experience with this. I've experienced mental health, and it's got a stigma to it. And I'm sure you guys have all seen the posts that say, "Stop the stigma." Well, there is a stigma to mental health, that it makes you, that it's a sign of weakness, or that there's something wrong with you. And that's just not the case. I tend to believe that it's the opposite. Those who struggle with mental health are incredibly strong. And in fact, you know, if you look through studies on it, most people suffer, I want to say it's about 11 years before they actually get treatment for it. And the reason for that is it's difficult to recognize mental health issues. And when we say mental health issues, there's a whole plethora of them, from anxiety disorders to schizophrenia to bipolar. And it's you know, it's a spectrum, it's a range, and these types of illnesses can cross over. So I just wanted to share a little bit of my own experience dealing with mental health, how I was able to recognize it and get some treatment, and hopefully that will assist some of you guys that are watching with recognizing it either in yourself or in those that you love. You know, mental health issues can come up based off of your genetics. It can be hereditary, or it can be something that is simply triggered within you. You know, our brains are very complicated, but we're only built to handle so much, and we're in a very stimulated world. We're in a very busy world, and sometimes it makes it difficult for us to keep up, and that can trigger some mental health. And if you don't recognize it and you don't get treatment for it, or if you don't get help for it, it can manifest itself in many ways, and it can grow over time. My experience, I want to say I probably struggled about 7 or 8 years. My family has a history of it, though I don't know that that is exactly why I had my issues with it. But it was something I struggled with for a long time, because I felt like most people do, well, I'm just stressed. Well, this is just something that, you know, everybody deals with. And, you know, I can't be weaker than everybody else. I just got to keep moving forward. Things will get better. You know, or I can medicate with something else, which is why a lot of people tend to lean on alcohol or drugs, because that's their window out, that's their way out. But the reality is it's harder to see how deep you are into mental health until you're on the other side. A lot of the warning signs that are out there: lack of sleep. Let me pull up a statistic here, actually. Lack of sleep. Restlessness, mood swings. For me, the big one was I was constantly on edge. I was constantly quick to anger or frustration. So, you know, if you gauge your personality or your temperament, let's say on a 0 to 10 scale, most people should be around a 0, a 1, or a 2. When you're struggling with mental health, when you're struggling with anxiety, for me particularly, I was waking up on an 8. I was at an 8 all day long. So it didn't take much to get me going. And you know, I let it go again because I thought it was not a big deal. It was something that we all struggled with, and I was fine. I wasn't any different than anybody else. And the reality is it continued to manifest itself into more severe stages. And one of the ones that is a warning sign that I had that was kind of the wake-up call for me is your brain creating situations or scenarios that aren't true, but you believe they are. Feelings of panic, feelings of something's wrong, something's really wrong, but you can't put your finger on it. And you stop socializing, you start losing weight or gaining weight. And that was the big one for me, is my life was, I was becoming reclusive because of what was going on in my head. But the good news is that there is opportunities and there are treatments out there for people. A lot of folks go and speak to counselors, speak to therapists. I know when it comes to those, you have to be ready for that change. You have to be ready to open up. I know that there are medical advancements that can help out. If you go and talk to your doctor, which is what I did, they can get you on medications to assist. And there's a plethora of them, but that's a conversation you should have with your doctor. But I can tell you guys, you know, I didn't think anything was wrong with me. I just was grumpy, grouchy, tired. That's the big one. Well, I had a long day, I'm tired. Well, I had a lot of stuff going on. I can be frustrated, that's okay. And it is okay, but you shouldn't be always frustrated. You shouldn't be always angry. You shouldn't be always scared. You shouldn't be always overwhelmed. Those are signs of anxiety disorder or mental health. You know, for me, I'm a father and I'm a husband, and I can only wish that I had done something about my condition years before, because now on the other side of it, you know, 4 or 5 years into this, I'm a better father than I ever could have been. I'm a better husband than I ever could have been. I'm a better son. I'm a better brother. I'm a better friend. I'm a better employee. I'm a better coworker. I'm a better supervisor, because I was able to finally recognize that I was struggling, that I was treading water and losing. And I reached out to family first, and family assisted me in reaching out to my doctor and having those conversations. But again, there's that stigma that goes along with this. And I've experienced that firsthand. There are certain friends who have been very supportive, but then there are also friends and family members that don't believe that it's real. And I think that like many things, it's mental health issues are hard to understand or hard to notice unless you've actually experienced them. You know, statistically, they say 2 out of 3 people in America are struggling with mental health. You know, the diagnosis rate, a lot of people don't go in and get that assistance. Even people who do have those issues aren't out there getting the help that they need because of that stigma. So, you know, the reason we're doing this today and the reason why I'm telling my story is to break that stigma. Many people you interact with every day are dealing with some form of mental health, and it's okay. It's okay to be there for them, and it's okay for you to ask for help if you're in that position. So that's my story, and I hope that it helped with you guys. Ms. LaTanya, I will hand it back over to you.
Well, thank you, Robert, for that insightful and personal journey that you just gave us. We welcome that information, and we give you kudos for going to seek help for your issues. I hope we all can take from that, because we all suffer in some mild degree. I thank Robert because last week I was going through some things myself, so he made me aware of my issues as well. So thank you, Robert. I would like to bring to you next Miss Sophie Fontaine. She is the Youth and Young Adult Program Coordinator for the National Alliance on Mental Illness of Virginia, and the acronym is NAMI. Welcome, Miss Sophie, and you can take over now. Welcome, Miss Sophie, to the screen. Hello.
Hi. I am not able to share my screen yet, so if I can do that, then I can get started. And Robert, thank you so much for sharing all of that. You know, NAMI is, we're founded on peer support. That's the evidence-based practice that we use. So we utilize a lot of personal stories. So I would love to get to talk to you a little more about other NAMI programming, because your story could really help. So if you'd be interested, or anybody be interested, I'm always looking for volunteers to help me. So, okay, let me go ahead and get my screen started. Can everybody see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. I'm really bad at Zoom. Okay, so just a quick introduction about me. My name is Sophie Fontaine. I am the Youth and Young Adult Program Coordinator at NAMI Virginia. My role is interesting because I'm also the Director of Youth Move Virginia, which is one of our programs here. That's more of our youth and young adult programming. So I kind of have my hands in both buckets, so it's really fun. I've lived in Virginia my entire life. I just graduated with my master's in social work from VCU in Richmond, so I am not far from you all. But I'm really excited to be here. I've actually gotten to do a program with TCC at the beginning of the summer with Alicia, who's also on the call, and that was really fun. So if you have any questions or anything, please feel free to send them in the chat and I can answer them later. And I will also get this PowerPoint to you all so that you all can see the links and everything, because I'm a big link-oriented person. So just a brief little overview about mental health right now. Stress, anxiety, and COVID have been, very relational to one another. There's been a lot of stuff going on. So I'm just going to touch on these little points here. So I'm going to touch on grief and going back to school, how our productivity has changed with COVID, and then also different ways to take care of yourself through self-care. And I just want to put this into the room now that heightened feelings of stress and anxiety right now are normal. So if you at all get, excuse me, a little overwhelmed, if you need to take a step away, I'm not going to be offended if you walk away from your computer. If you turn your camera off, I won't be offended because I understand that sometimes topics like this can get overwhelming, but I'm staying away from anything super triggering. So hopefully I'm not going to get into that territory at all. So first and foremost, my PowerPoint did not save properly. Okay, anyways, that's okay. We will work with this. So the CDC released guidelines recently about mental health and COVID. So right now, stress is obviously at a very high level. I know that going back to school is stressful enough, let alone going back to school in a global pandemic. I can't imagine how stressful that is for faculty and students. So just know that these stressors are normal. Fear about your health, changes in your sleep or eating patterns, difficulty sleeping or concentrating, worsening chronic health conditions, worsening mental health conditions, and also increased use of substances, as Robert was touching on, that people often find ways to self-medicate when there's a lot going on. We didn't really get raised on a good toolkit of mental health help when we're feeling overwhelmed, when we're feeling these things. So our culture has kind of pushed self-medicating. So just going to touch on that a little bit as well. The other thing is grief. So in my mind, I don't know about anybody else, but in my mind, I thought you could only really grieve people. I never really recognized that you could grieve events or activities. So I graduated in May of 2020 and I had to grieve my graduation. So there's a lot of articles out there right now about how the 5 stages of grief aren't necessarily a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 done. A lot of the time it's back and forth. It's, depression, and then it's like acceptance, and then it's back to depression, and then it's bargaining. So those 5 stages of grief, psychologists are kind of getting away from, because it's not normal to go 1 through 5 and then just be done. I don't know if anybody's lost someone close to them, but often there are times where you start to feel better about it, and then you kind of go back into a hole or a pit and you get really sad and really scared, but that's normal. But right now we're grieving a lot. I know going back to school right now has been really difficult. I have a brother who's in college right now at Christopher Newport, and I understand the stress that he's dealt with going back to school. So some advice about dealing with grief is paying attention to your feelings. Name what you've lost during the pandemic. Just say it, write it out. I'm a big journaling person, so I highly recommend getting a journal. Thinking about your strengths and your coping skills. Obviously, some of us don't have a lot of coping skills, so I'm doing some research about how you can utilize some good coping mechanisms, finding healthy coping mechanisms during COVID. Staying connected with people. There are a ton of grief support groups online. I'm more than happy to get anybody connected with those if they would like. I have friends who have lost family members to COVID-19, and they have found that these support groups online are actually really useful for them. We've all had to change our routine. I'm well aware of that as well. So creating an adapted routine, so changing what your purpose is each day, not stressing so much on having a super productive day, which I'm going to be talking about soon. Trying to keep a regular sleep schedule and a healthy diet, but again, I recognize that that's kind of hard to do right now, but just doing your best and not putting too much pressure on yourself and giving yourself some grace. Limiting your news diet. I know right now, not only are we grieving a global pandemic, but there's also a social movement happening right now. And that can be really hard on mental health, especially mental health of members of the Black community right now. I know that we've seen a lot that is terrifying and scary to watch. And especially when it's someone that looks like someone in your family, that grief is unimaginable. So limiting your news diet, really giving yourself permission to take a step back, to not watch the news 24/7, turning the TV off, and that also includes turning social media off. I take social media hiatuses constantly. They're really useful and helpful for your mental health. And finally, remembering this journey, I know we all know right now that COVID is probably going to affect the way our lives go for the rest of our existence at this point. It's going to change the way we interact with people. It's going to change the way that we do work. It's going to change the way policies are made. So remembering this journey, and again, journaling is a great first step, something that could be really useful to remembering this and reflecting on this and your growth. Now back to school, again, I want to say I have a lot of empathy for you all going back to school. I was one of the people who was in school when we were all of a sudden online for no reason. We had no idea what was going on. So I can just really empathize with the quick change and the stress and the turnaround that came with this. So I found some fun little tips to kind of help the back to school transition. Now, I'm not sure if Tidewater is doing on in-person or remote or mixing it up, but either way, things have changed and it's scary. So some tips would be to have a dedicated study space, making a study plan. I'm someone that I need things written out, so writing out a study plan might be really useful. So planning ahead, utilizing a calendar and to-do list, setting time limits for projects. One thing I've been utilizing is the 40-20 method, where you work for 40 minutes straight and then you take a 20-minute break every hour. So whether it's cleaning my house, I take 40 minutes to clean my house and I take a 20-minute break. Whether I'm at the office, I do 40 minutes and then I go on a 20-minute walk, or I go talk to a coworker for 20 minutes. It kind of helps you reset. It helps you kind of remain productive while also giving yourself some time, because we believe, in our society, it's been like, no, you have to be productive 24/7. That's not reality. That's not how life works. And finally, staying on schedule, but also giving yourself grace. And the other big thing is asking for help from professors or other students when needed. I don't know about some of you, but I'm someone that I hate asking for help. So I have to write out the point that I will say, okay, if I reach this point, then I will ask for help. So if you can create some thresholds for yourself, if you're someone like me who's really afraid to ask for help, it's really, really useful. And like I said, taking breaks. Treating online school like normal school, attending your classes. I know sometimes that's hard, but doing it, getting ready for the day, getting up, drinking water when you wake up, having a normal routine as much as you can. Holding yourself accountable, practicing time management, eliminating distractions, and also figuring out what works best for you at home. Now, I know that's really complicated and that takes a lot of time to adjust to, but be patient, figure it out, try new things. If it doesn't work, try something different. Actively participate, and again, encouraging breaks. So productivity with COVID, again, I've mentioned this before. I know it's been really difficult, especially when you're stuck at home all day. It's hard to be productive. So these are just some reminders for you all. Number one is feeling overwhelmed and underproductive right now is completely normal. My advice with that is just to be mindful of the changes that have been going on and practice patience and grace with yourself. When I send this PowerPoint to you all, the links will be in there. And these are just some really great articles that I've been leaning on when I need support, when I'm like, I'm not being productive enough, I'm not being good enough. So those are really useful. So I highly recommend taking some time to read those. Also, letting yourself be unproductive for a little bit. Clearly, when you're not feeling motivated, there's something deeper going on. Take some time to reflect on that, journaling, actually doing nothing for 5 minutes. I don't know the last time you all have done this, but if you ever just sat on your couch and literally done nothing for 5 minutes, it's overwhelming at first because you're just with your thoughts. However, if you take that time to feel like, okay, I'm not being productive right now, obviously there's something else going on, and you give yourself 5 minutes to just sit there, you kind of take some time to be like, okay, I'm really tired, or, oh, actually, I'm really hungry, I need something to eat, or I need some water. Listen to your body, listen to yourself, listen to your brain, because it's telling you sometimes what you need. You're just so focused on being productive, you can't hear it. And again, it's okay if you're not feeling productive right now. Sometimes, like especially right now, coping and existing is all you can do in the moment. So there's also some tips on productivity related anxiety. So I don't know about you all, but I'm someone that I live with generalized anxiety disorder. So constant news consumption, fear of the world ending, and loss of family members are the three big things for me that cause the most anxiety. So obviously with all of that, it's been really difficult for me to be productive at times. So I know if you're all on Twitter at the beginning of quarantine, we all saw people posting like, here's my quarantine schedule. I wake up at 5:30 in the morning and I go for a 7-mile run and blah, blah, blah. Take all of that with a grain of salt, because I promise you those people were not doing what they were saying they were doing. We can try to be better, but at the same time, take what you're seeing on social media with a grain of salt. The best thing I've ever heard about social media is it's the highlight reel, not the outtakes of people's lives. So take that with a grain of salt, or just limit your social media intake altogether. I have an iPhone and I know that I can put a time limit on my social media accounts and it will tell me to get off. And sometimes, I don't know if it's happened to you before, but you're on it, you're like, oh my gosh, I've been on it for 30 minutes already. Oh God. So take those reminders, do some things like that. Also remember, there's no right way to cope. We're all from very different backgrounds. We all have very different coping mechanisms. There's no right way to do it. There are healthy ways, but there are no right ways to do it. Stop comparing yourself to others. Again, that's kind of going back to social media. Creating a routine, but also remembering that it's okay if you don't complete everything you wanted to in one day. I've had a running to-do list since March, and I think I've probably accomplished like 7 of those things, and mostly because they're on a deadline and I had to get them done. So remember to give yourself some grace with this. And this is just a quote that I really liked from a blog I read, and it says, under current circumstances, it's easy to neglect activities like changing up your routine, exercising, eating well, and practicing mindfulness. But it's important to remember that you are a person, not a machine. You truly don't need to write a memoir or learn how to code right now to be of value. Just bake some banana bread, revisit old childhood hobbies, and have some compassion for yourself. Life is so much more than checking off boxes on a to-do list. And I don't know about you all, but I made way too much banana bread at the beginning of COVID. I still am trying a lot of new recipes, but they're fun things, and they also get to bring me together with people. I just moved to a new apartment, so I get to talk to my neighbors about what they're baking, and then we can talk about recipes. And trying new things is okay, trying new baking recipes, but also not putting any pressure on yourself to do things constantly, because again, just existing right now is enough. Maintaining social distancing, taking care of yourself, respecting your neighbors, wearing masks, sometimes it's all you can do right now, and honestly, that's good enough right now. So I'm a big self-care person. NAMI Virginia and Youth Move is all about self-care. I hate the idea that self-care is just like drinking a glass of wine and sitting in a bubble bath. That's not it. Self-care is activities that are going to make yourself feel better in the fun ways and the not fun ways. Having a healthy meal is self-care, even if sometimes you're like, I just want chocolate all the time, which is like me. So here's just some fun ideas for the different types of self-care. So physical, going for a walk, make sure you're wearing a mask. Exercising for at least 30 minutes a day, 3 times a week. I linked a bunch of fun exercises to do at home there. They're really fun. Maintaining a healthy diet. We're all stuck at home. You might as well try some new recipes. I've been doing that once a week. Drinking water is something that I need a reminder of constantly. Drink more water than you drink coffee. Sleeping 7 to 9 hours a night. I know how impossible that can sound, but it is really important. And also taking your medications as directed by doctors. Spiritual. So meditating is a huge thing for me. I really try to meditate once a week. However, as someone with anxiety and severe ADHD, it is not easy. So finding meditation practices that work for you, whether they're 1 minute or 5 minute, and also practicing mindfulness. That link is actually just going to be some mindfulness practices you can do throughout the day, no matter where you are, whether you're in your car or whether you're at home. So mental health. Journaling. I've said it before, I'm a huge advocate for journaling, and there are so many journal prompts online for you to utilize. Finding a mental health professional to talk to. Now, I understand that does come with a lot of privilege, both financial and also just a lot of the stigma that can be around us can make that really difficult. I totally recognize that, so I just wanted to put it out there, but also with recognizing that. Unfollowing social media accounts that don't make you feel good. I linked a bunch of fun social media accounts that I follow that are really helping me along my mental health journey, getting into routine. And then finally, connection. So I know right now not being in person has been really difficult. I'm a huge extrovert. I don't know if you can tell just by how animated I am. But I've really struggled with COVID because I've wanted to be around people constantly. The great thing about the time we're in is that we have platforms like Zoom and social media that it is not difficult to stay connected with people. I found a bunch of fun games to play over Zoom. We also have support groups. So NAMI Virginia has some support groups. NAMI Coastal Virginia has support groups, which is your local affiliate. And Youth Move is actually starting support groups starting in September for high school students as well as college students. And that's any college student, whether you're a community college student or you're at a four-year university. Also, studying with friends online over Zoom. I was always the person that my first day of class, I would go and meet everybody and get everyone's phone numbers. And I know it's a little harder on online classes, but really make a point to try to connect with classmates, because you're not going to be together in person. You might as well try to make the most of it and get some friends over Zoom. I also have a list of just fun activities to do at home, whether you live alone or with people. So healthy coping mechanisms for stress around the pandemic. This is just like if you're like me and you're really just stressed about getting sick, know what to do when you're sick, and if you're concerned about COVID-19, know where to get treatment and help. Thankfully, testing services have gone up. However, I do recognize that wait time is very long. But know the steps for that. Taking care of your emotional health, whether it's with you and your family. Take breaks from the news. Take care of your body. Make time to unwind, do something, try something new, connect with others, and connect with your community or faith-based organizations. So NAMI is a great way to get connected with people. If you're religious, faith-based organizations are doing a ton to try to connect people. And I got this from the CDC, which is that link there as well. So just to kind of wrap everything up, so NAMI Virginia and Youth Move programming, I highly recommend that everyone have the Suicide Prevention Lifeline phone number saved in their phones. Even if you've never experienced suicidal thoughts or ideations, it has been a literal lifesaver for me to have that saved and ready when a friend reaches out to me that they need serious help right away. They also now have a text line, which has actually helped people to feel more comfortable to reach out, and you just have to text HOME to 741-741. Both of those are crisis lines, but they are not necessarily going to be the police involved. So keep that in mind as well. The next thing is the NAMI Virginia helpline. So we're here to kind of connect you with resources. We don't provide individual services. However, we do connect you with resources in your area. I've also linked the NAMI Virginia website and then the NAMI Virginia Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. On our YouTube, as of yesterday too, we just did a panel presentation on Social Security and disability, which is really useful, and a lot of our families do utilize but have a lot of questions about. So we did have a representative come on and just kind of talk to people about what SSDI is, how to apply, and there's also going to be a Q&A session coming up in a few weeks if you're interested in that. The Youth Move Virginia Facebook and Instagram, we post a lot on there. We post about events coming up, we post about mental health, we post about fun self-care. I posted a picture of my dog before. So I really just try to keep that engaging. We also have our young adult retreat this Saturday from 10 to 2, and the registration link is there. And that's going to be for anyone ages 18 to 30 that are interested in talking about creating a NAMI on campus club, who are interested in using your lived experience in a professional setting, talking about connecting with other young adults. And then I also have a fun activity planned for Zoom. We'll see how it goes. And then finally, our online back to school support groups are starting. So for our college students, it's going to be the 4th Tuesday of the month. It's free, it's on Zoom, it's open to everyone. It's kind of just like an open forum if you need to vent, if you want to talk, if you need advice. I'm going to be running them, so I'll be around to help, give any feedback, any support I can. The last two things are, we have 2 Youth Move resource guides that we created. One is for youth and young adults, and that's just to help fill the time of COVID. We're adding a back to school section on that. We did also start one specifically for Black youth and young adults after the death of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, to kind of address that specific mental health that was going to be needed to be dealt with at the time, and is continuing to have to be dealt with. So that is specifically for Black youth and young adults who are seeking out professionals that look like them, who are from where they're from. So that is another thing. And finally, NAMI Walks Virginia, we're having our virtual walk on October 10th. It's going to be online. It's going to be really fun. We have an auction going right now. I've linked the Youth Move team there if you want to sign up with us, or if you guys want to start your own team, that'd be great. We are slowly climbing to our goal. So that's been really fun. It's been really exciting. I'm really looking forward to it. And I really hope that this was useful to you all. I did get a couple of questions, so let me, okay. Yes, so grief is very difficult. I can happily share some grief groups with anyone that's interested in those. And yes, okay, my email got sent. Okay, all right. So if anybody else has any questions, I'm here. I'll be around, so yeah.
Well, thank you, Sophie, for that insightful, informative PowerPoint. I took notes. I hope everyone else did as well. I like the journaling part and staying connected. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Our next presenter will be Ms. Vallette Hackney Davis. She's an academic counselor and coach for the Open Door Project that's hosted on the Norfolk campus. Welcome, Ms. Vallette.
Hi guys, this is, she just said my name, Willette Hackney Davis. I am the academic advisor and coach for the Open Door Project, but I've been here at TCC for over 22 years. So the jump from asynchronous to synchronous to hybrid to, I've been there through distant learning. I'm going back now to just having a computer lab. I've seen the development of all of those things, and to see how the students relate mentally, talking to them every day and seeing the decrease in our numbers, the students who are not returning back because they just can't feel like they just can't do online. So to let them understand the normalcy of what has come to be, I think the journey is going to be long. So these events today, this is like my third mental health event that I've attended, just to motivate the students to understanding that there are resources here on campus that they can turn to, not only for their academic studies, but as well as their personal and social goals that they're trying to meet, as well, just to motivate them throughout the campus and their learning. I went to, if you go to our, did I just share? I didn't. Okay. If you go to the TCC page of campus resources or service and support on the Tidewater Community College, it lists all of the support places that you have, but I just want to draw some attention to the personal support, because these are the places where we mostly see or hear all of every aspect of a student. And first generation, if you are new to the school, you can always reach out to your first year success counselor, and they have coaches as well in that area of the school. But if you are a first generation, that means one of your parents or neither one of your parents have a 4-year degree and you are the first person in your immediate family, that makes you a first generation student. If you are a foster care student, there's a program on the campus that you can turn to. International students have their own guidance and advisement that they go through, that they can turn to during this time. I just happened to be in Richmond, and the lady asked me, she saw my sticker on my car, and she asked me about international studies, trying to get her daughter into school. And when you deal with a lot of ethnicities, it's because everything has to go through the head of the household, which is the father, and getting him to understand the importance of education. And not every child goes wild in high school. So I said, well, maybe you should start her at the community college. There's always J. Sergeant Reynolds. She can take a couple of classes and see how it goes. And we go through, we've had several students in my program who every semester the mother comes up and makes sure the child is registered. They pick her up right after classes, anything to just get till you feel comfortable with that child going to college on their own. But now that we are virtual, and a lot of people don't understand that, you're opening yourself up to the internet. So you have to face that big fear, especially when we don't have internet at home. And having places to go where you have a disability. We have learning accessibilities on the campuses as well, and they are all virtual. We are all virtual when we're doing the counseling. So you just have to, and right now we're starting something new. Yay! We have virtual days that we are in Zoom to do advisement. So So anytime a student needs any help and they just want to make a Zoom, they can do a drop-in to Zoom. Or if the regular counselors are busy, if they join Open Door, yeah, I'm gonna give kudos to where I work. We are a student support services program, and we offer online counseling. And right now we have hotspots for our students and laptops for our students and calculators and anything that the student needs to make them be able to function online, as well as if they're in classes. We have the tutors who are in our Zoom meetings for them to go into the tutoring sessions with. So we are doing the most that we can possibly do to make sure that our students are comfortable. The Women's Center is another specialized place where if you're having any issues or you want some resources, that is a good place to click on. And they have a whole list of daycare, housing, anything that's a social aspect. If you need mental, they have the connection there where they can give you the referral to like Hope House and all these places, no matter what the student is going through. Last year when we was in school, we had students who were committing suicide over little big things to them. But when you're in a mental state and nobody knows, it's good that you're connected to somebody who can reach out and say, this person might need that help. So I give kudos to us having our things in social media, and the students are gravitating to the social media because, you believe it or not, students can save another student's life, so or know that this student is going through this and the third, and they get on the phone and they call me or they call another counselor and say, I think somebody needs to reach out to this student because of, so I just love the support that we give, even if school is open or closed. There's military support here on campus. The Veterans Association and the Veterans Affairs is on every campus that service the military, whether they're in the military or got out, or if you're just a family member of the military. I am a military brat. Yay. And so I know how it is to be a dependent, but I've also been a spouse of the military too. So I understand the dealing with nobody's being here to support you while you're here because they're out to sea or out on a mission, and you have to deal with your kids, and now you have to turn around and deal with COVID, and you have to deal with your kids being home. So all that extra stress, the Ombudsman has reached out to our veterans centers and made sure that they're staying in good communication with the students who are enrolled in school for this semester. Any questions? Did I cover everything? I covered everybody, I think. Oh, just keep in mind, you have tutoring on campus. They are virtual, and then you have us as Open Door, we have tutors too. So I say use all your resources. The library is open on every campus, so you can reach there. You can still go to the campus. I saw students out there just yesterday when I was on campus sitting underneath the umbrella using that free Wi-Fi, So on each campus, they got general areas where you can go and you can just sit and still stay quarantined. Unfortunately, I like Granby Street because Granby Street got all the restaurants and they're all outside. So you sit out, eat, and do your homework. So, but if you have any questions, online resources are available to you. So I'm done because, I can talk forever. Take the mic back.
Thank you, Ms. Willette. That was awesome. Great information for all the students that are on right now. These things will be linked up on the Canvas as well. As you said, she shared the homepage, so you see all the things that are available on campus. Again, thank you, Willette, and I appreciate you. Next up is the Honorable Dr. Ivory J. Warren. She is faculty of the Social Science and Education Pathways. Welcome, Dr. Warren. I'm turning the mic over to you.
Good afternoon, all. As she said, I'm Dr. Ivory J. Warren. I'm the college-wide department chair of the Human Services Program here at TCC. And this is an area that's near and dear to my heart because, you know, with COVID-19, it has upset our routine. And when it occurred back in spring 2020, and in meetings I've shared with my colleagues, the first thing we got to realize that our students are people too, that they do have feelings, and they've been facing what, like I think Sophie mentioned earlier, GAD, generalized anxiety disorder, PTSD, and all of the above. So I will poll their feelings, and I do that even now with classes starting yesterday because that is key. And also, I would love to see faculty to become trained. And Sophie, if you know of anybody, let me know and I would put my feelers out. Because like Sophie had mentioned earlier, when you have a student, even sometimes a staff member or faculty come to you with suicide ideation, how would you handle that? What would you say? 1 minute, let me give you a referral. And you know, that person has been having these ideas of suicide, committing suicide. And that's something that I think a lot of us need training in for those of us who do not know how to handle that. And for those of us who do so, that is excellent skill set to have in your toolbox as well. I'm gonna share my screen. I've been asked to come up with community resources by Miss Latanya. I think, is that the one? There it is. Also in each city, there is a community services board. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
Okay. Also, if you have any type of directory housed in your office, make sure that you call the organizations to make sure that the information is up to date, because sometimes they could change their phone numbers, their addresses, and things of that nature. There's Bruder Counseling Center, which is not too far from here from campus. They're looking at your Chesapeake residential mental health, depression. And we have a lot of individuals, and Robert, thank you so much for sharing your journey that deal with depression, bipolar, because years ago I taught a student that was schizophrenic. As long as she was on her meds, she was a C student. Off her meds, you could tell. And a lot of times this comes into play, the bipolar, with students that we have and depressed. For students to be able to come to campus face to face, that was an outlet for them. And now they can't do that. We have Zoom. It's not as personal as the interaction when they got with coming to campus. And that can cause folks to become depressed. And being at home day in and day out, and sometimes with their children, you know, that can be depressing to some of them because of the demands placed on them. They're trying to do their schoolwork and then try to homeschool their children as well. And I love that we have resources for fleet and family services, in regards to the military, because we do have a lot of military that are at all of our campuses. Hampton Mental Health Associates. We have Hampton Roads Behavioral Health. You can see the phone numbers there, and mental health services, and like our illustrious Sophie, NAMI. And they have presented many times here on campus, and I mean, excellent resource, the Naval Medical Center. Then during this time, I'm on the YWCA board and the HERS shelter and other shelters that we have. Domestic violence is on the rise because of the pandemic. The numbers are high. And also we have the Summit Wellness Center. That's Dr. Stacey O'Tate Scott. She's been here before, and she's with the Mount in Chesapeake. Then the Sarah Michelle Peterson Foundation. They have been here and have set up an information table. Then we had Transitions Family Services. That's on the peninsula side. And also we have Samaritan Houses, which in Virginia Beach. And I have another list of resources. I won't bring that up. I'll just share with you. I think Sophie had mentioned about NAMI, the suicide prevention hotline, the national one. Then we have like emotional support helplines, which is a disaster distress hotline. And that is 1-800-985-5990. And Miss Latanya, she has all of this information. So I will be so glad when we can get another licensed clinical psychologist on campus, because that would be great. You know, your 4-year institutions, majority of them have a counseling center. And it would be great for us to have that, because our students, they are facing a great deal trying to have work, life, and balance. And then to having someone to talk to, and knowing that what they talk to or share will be held in the utmost confidentiality. That is a must. And then when you're dealing with mental health issues, being a social worker that I am, woohoo, and Sophie has her MSW.
Yay.
Yes, I have a BSW, MSW, the clinical track from Norfolk State University after Long Strong School of Social Work. And my doctorate is in Human Service Administration, minor concentration, conflict resolution. And when you have folks coming to you, we have to document to cover our behinds. They may say, Robert, I want to talk to you about, I've been depressed for so long, and I just don't I don't know what to do or where I'm going, and blah, 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 blah. He will have to document that interaction with that individual, because that individual could go out here and harm themselves or try to harm themselves and say, well, I talked to Robert at blah, 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 blah. Then Robert has to have a documentation regarding what transpired during that. And when I was coordinator of the Women's Center years ago, when someone came from services, I read to them in the case who would see their files, and also the likelihood and maybe a possibility my files could be subpoenaed. And when you're dealing with folks who may have suicide ideation or bipolar depression, a lot of times I had a form that the individual had to sign where I could talk to their medical doctor, their physician, and they could release that information to me. Because, a lot of time when you're on different meds, that can cause a chemical imbalance. And then too, we have to be trained in the area of mental health to recognize the symptoms of schizophrenia, bipolar, and there are different levels of bipolar. Some people, all they know is, oh, they're bipolar, but what is the extreme of that particular bipolar? So Ms. Tanya, she has all of these resources that will be available to everybody, and hopefully, and I mentioned this at all of my pathway meetings and faculty senate, that faculty to get some type of training or have a workshop where they can learn more about mental health, how to recognize it, and what to do if you face with a student, faculty, or staff member that's having issues in the mental health disorder arena. That's all I have. Thank you. And everybody, please stay safe and have a great semester. Any questions or anything?
Dr. Warren, I just wanted to kind of piggyback on that. I know, my experience, and it may be different for most people, but my experience is that a lot of folks who are struggling with mental health, they don't know how to articulate what they're feeling, and they're afraid to come forward with it because, again, it's confusing. It's not like it's an easy sign. It's not like, oh, I have a rash, that means this. Mm-hmm. It's a manifestation. And I wanted to just touch base real quickly on the gender differentials in this. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure Sophie can agree with this or back me up on this, but suicide is lopsided in this country. It's over, I believe the NAMI website says over 75% of suicide are male. And one argument that can be made is that it's because men are traditionally taught, that's why men don't go to the doctor. This is why men don't live as long, because they don't ask for help. They think, well, I'm tough, I can get through it. Mm-hmm. So what I'm trying to get at is that people who are dealing with mental health, they aren't going to come out and say, I'm having a mental health crisis, please help me. They may come mm-hmm. forward and talk to you about some of the things that are bothering you, almost in a fishing manner. So mm-hmm. it is important for everybody, especially those working on a college campus, to be aware of what those symptoms and what those signs can look like in an individual.
Absolutely.
Because it might be
like within my classrooms, every semester, I look at my students and whatever this and that. And a lot of times I can tell by their body language or their mannerism, this and that, oh, that one is suffering with panic attacks and whatever this and that. And then too, you have to have an aura about you, whereas that student may feel comfortable enough to come to you and want to open up to you, and knowing that you're not going to be judgmental. Right. And what you said about men is true, because they're the main breadwinners most of the time, and they have this certain facade and image they have to keep up. That's just like they could be making what, 6 figures a year, then something happened. Oh, that company has closed. They can't handle that. Oh, wow, I'm a failure to myself and to my family. You know,
Yeah,
things
yeah.
of
I mean,
that.
that traditional gender role for men is typically we
Yeah,
don't talk about our
right,
feelings, and then you just keep plowing through. But
right.
you know, the good thing is that
Right.
in
Into
society
another
that's
thing, we
changing.
got to be mindful of the LGBTQ population.
Yes, I
That's
was reading
totally,
this morning.
yes,
Transgender people are 12 times more
that's
likely
right.
to commit
And that's why
suicide.
we have to be well trained in those areas, because
Yes.
years ago, and I have to go, um, it was a case here on the Norfolk campus years ago, and they couldn't find a licensed clinical psychologist. And when I came from Martinville and coming back here to this office, security was there, and they said, we were looking for you. I said, for what? And they had a student outside, well, in the hallway on a bench, and suicide ideation. I said, well, you all need to move her inside an empty classroom. People walking by, looking at you all, talking to her. And so when they did that, moved into an empty classroom, and I let the student know, I said, don't you know or realize, I'm letting you know that when you brought this to our campus, we have a duty to report as well as a duty to warn. I told her, I want you to understand that first. And so she did. And like Sophia mentioned, how long have you been having these ideas of suicide? How are you going about doing it? Blah, 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 blah. So having to talk to her, talk quick and change that mindset, and thinking to myself, the social work, okay, what theoretical framework am I going to use here? What techniques intervention wise? And so then when the psychologist came and the dean of students, I had to bring them up to speed and told everybody they need to document. And we called EMT, and they came, and she went freely with them so that they could do an assessment. And so things like that we need, and also making sure our documentation is in place. So that's all I have. I've enjoyed this, and I'm glad to see that we had some students up here as well.
Can I just make a quick note just about if you notice that a friend or a classmate is exhibiting some symptoms or signs of something that you're like, I don't know if that's okay, I don't know if that's like normal. My biggest advice is to not go up to them and be like, hey, I think you're depressed, or hey, I think you have anxiety. Like, you can call attention to the behaviors and just say like, hey, I don't know if this is okay, this doesn't seem healthy, are you okay? But don't ever feel like you can't bring it up without, like, don't feel like you can't bring it up without having extensive knowledge about a diagnosis. But on the other hand, never diagnose your friends.
Right.
Especially like I can imagine that anyone else who's like me, who has a background in mental health and social work or psychology, I have friends constantly coming up to me and go, do you think I'm manic depressive? Do you think I have bipolar? I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't. I'm like, ethically, I can't answer that.
No.
Like, no. But just there's like a twofold thing here. It's like you don't have to diagnose your friends because like you shouldn't. That's a professional. The same way if you weren't a doctor, you wouldn't try to do surgery on your friend.
Right. Sophie, I want you to go and get that LCSW.
Oh, I'm more of a macro person. I can't do clinical work. But on the other hand, don't feel like you have to know the DSM front and back in order to talk to a friend about signs and symptoms that you think are not okay. Just because that can also kind of increase the stigma. And like Robert was talking about, stigmatization is really real. And also, I'm happy you guys brought up the LGBTQ community, because suicide runs very high in those communities. As well as mental health in the Black community is very stigmatized as well. The faith community. So acknowledging that, you know, clearly I'm white. I have a very different understanding of mental health than a lot of my coworkers or my classmates. So also just recognize that you don't ever want to come at somebody who may be from a different culture than you, anything accusatory. Oh, you need help. You need, you're crazy. I'm just going to push everyone right now to challenge you to just take the word crazy out of your vocabulary.
That's right.
It's a very stigmatized word. I'm really working on it. But, you know, you just never want to come at somebody. You want to come to them from a place of love, a passion. Obviously, you don't have to be their best friend to call attention to a behavior you're worried about. But just know, like, don't be afraid to talk to someone about something just because you don't have an extensive knowledge on bipolar 2 or whatever. Just wanted to make that point.
And Sophie, that's why cultural awareness is key. A lot of folks need that training as well.
Cultural humility is a really great practice to look into. I'm working through it right now, but I highly recommend for anyone to take a minute to really do some cultural humility practice, because it's really important, especially in my line of work.
Yes.
Well, I thank you all for your comments. Dr. Warren, I know you have to leave. I appreciate you. I thank you for being a part of this discussion, and I apologize for not mentioning you are chair of the Human Service Department
No,
and
that
one of
is
my
fine. No,
mentors,
that is fine. No, that is fine.
and
I
one of
hate
my
the fact.
mentors as well. We'll talk to you later. Now, ladies and gentlemen, our fellow students, the next person to speak to you will be Dr. Bowers. But before he finishes us off, I would like to say all information will be on Canvas under Kickstart in the time of crisis. The information that Sophie gave us with all the links, the information Dr. Warren just gave us with all the telephone numbers and the associations, the information that Ms. Hackney gave us will be on Canvas as well as on your student portal. So I thank you. And Dr. Bowers, who is the head interim director of the Norfolk Student Center, welcome, and you can close us out, sir. Is he still here?
He's muted.
Oh, real
Let me
quick,
find out.
I do that all the time.
Okay.
Real quick, Miss Latanya, I know you have an agenda for a Q&A. I would hate to end this phenomenal program without allowing the students to have the opportunity to ask questions, subject experts. So I will wait to close out, but I want to at least open up and give the students an opportunity, because this is for our students. So any students that just please go ahead and ask our subject experts who are here speaking today.
Hi, I'm Melissa. I'm a new student at TCC. I have to run to work, so I'm about to get off. But I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. Everything you said was very, very insightful with mental healthness. You, like Robert said, you might not think anything's wrong, but then you look at the signs and it's a compilation of things, and it's up to you to reach out to someone and talk to them about those issues. So I just wanted to say thank you for everything, and I look forward to another meeting, possibly. Do you guys do these often?
We're in the process. Something will be coming on shortly, but we will keep you in the loop. I will send out emails, check Canvas, check your calendars, all the events. We are getting geared for the fall. So I thank you for being a part of this, and welcome to TCC.
All right, thank you. Have a great day, everybody. Appreciate it.
You as well.
And to piggyback on that, Latanya, we're going to probably have some discussion boards up and available on this exact topic pretty regularly. So utilize Canvas as that outlet. Utilize us for those discussion boards. As Sophie talked about, there are things that you can do in your life to keep you healthier. Body health and mental health go hand in hand. So I would encourage you guys to check out our workouts that we've got. We put a new workout up every day on our virtual student center. So those are there as well to kind of help us center our mental health. So use those as well. Sorry, didn't mean to take it away from you, Ms. Tanya.
Oh, and I wanted to mention really quickly that students from the 2 NAMI chapters that are here at TCC are also present. So for those students who are interested in being involved in a student organization that is centered around awareness and mental health, you can get engaged with the students that are also here from the Chesapeake campus and the Portsmouth campus.
Okay. Thank you, Alicia. Anyone else? Questions?
I'd like to share something. So, hi everyone, I'm Stacia. I just want to say thank you to everyone who has shared their experience today. And I am president of the chapter of NAMI on campus on the Chesapeake campus. And this information really helped me to get some insight for myself personally, and to be able to bring this information into NAMI this semester as well.
Well, thank you. One more thing, if any student here who is here who's been directed here by a teacher or faculty or staff, you can email me at lclark@tcc.edu, and I will forward the email that you did attend this program. Okay?
Mrs. Tanya, why don't you type it into the chat box so the students can see your email?
I got it, Tanya.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Alyssa.
Thank you. All right, Dr. B.
Okay, so that was the last of any questions from our students or even staff or faculty? Okay, because I want to make sure, I definitely want to make sure our students get their buzz in and get their questions or concerns or comments in. In closing, my name is Dr. Terrence Bowers. I'm the interim director of the Norfolk Student Center. And it's been a pleasure today to sit and listen to this insightful information about mental health challenges. We know in the time that we are in, you know, with the whole pandemic and then the social injustice, other things that are going on, everybody's kind of dealing with this in a different way. I know I've had my challenges. I know people around me, my support group of friends and colleagues, you know, they have their challenges as well. So this was great information. And I just want to thank all of those who spoke today. I want to thank Sophie for just that phenomenal information and those tips in regards to, you know, how to address some of the issues that we may face. So thank you for you know, accepting the call to participate in this program. Robert, my man, my friend Robert, appreciate you sharing, you know, your information, your story, your journey, and I know someone will learn and someone's touched by what you shared today. So thank you for your testimony, my friend. Willette, thank you for the information you shared in regards to sharing the support, the student service support, resources around the college. I know that was very insightful. I know they appreciate that. So thank you, Willette. And thank you for always accepting the call when we call on you from the student engagement side. We really appreciate your partnership. And Professor Warren's gone, but I want to thank her as well. And for our students, thank you for taking out time to participate in this student engagement activity. You guys could have, you know, been in other places or studying or whatever the case may be. I know this is the first, this is the second day of classes, and we would like to welcome you to Welcome Week this week. So just thank you. Please look and chime into our actual Canvas platform. It will share with you a little bit more what we have going on at Tidewater Community College in regards to programming and student activity and things of that nature. So with that being said, I want to end by saying this. For those who developed this program, LaTanya and the rest of the staff at the college and student engagement and at the Student Center's phenomenal program. Thank you guys. You put on a phenomenal program. And I'm sitting here taking notes, and I'm looking at my notes because I wrote down a lot of notes myself. So great job, guys. And I look forward to the programs to come here in the near future. And I am quite sure that our students here appreciate it as well. So that's my last remarks. Robert, did you or LaTanya, did you want to share a little bit about Canvas before we close out?
I just wanted to say, you know, keep an eye on those announcements that are coming out from Canvas. We have a ton of really great informational programs. We also have a lot of fun programs. We got, like I said, workouts. We got video game tournaments. We have game night. We got art pieces. We got dance parties. So all kinds of fun stuff that's out here so that we can interact with each other in this virtual setting. The other thing I wanted to make sure that everyone is aware of is that when we run these programs like this, if you are not able to make it, we are recording them. We're going to be posting this video on our YouTube page, linking it to Canvas, and all of the information pieces that were up here will be on there. So if there's somebody who you feel this video would really help out, by all means, direct them to Canvas, share this with them, send them a link, whatever needs be. And anybody who's watching this, You know, it's okay to ask for help. Don't suffer in silence. Reach out to anybody and anyone that will listen. And if someone does reach out to you, you don't have to understand what they're going through. You just have to be there for them. Just have to be there to listen, and direct them to those right resources. So for me to you guys, thank you so very much for participating.
One last thing, Robert, before I finish. One last thing. I'll be remiss if I didn't say this. I see some other colleagues and faculty and staff that's on this actual this Zoom, and I want to give them a thank you, a big thank you. I want to give them a big shout out. I see Alicia Phillips on here. I see Professor Peterson, who's a great partner. She always sends students to our programs. I see Vincent Gary from Chesapeake campus, Sarah Hare. And I just want to thank you guys for the support and just, you know, as we put this together. So good job. I look forward to seeing you guys again soon. And I'm going to shut my mouth now.